Welcome everyone to yet another week of SDN Community Voices. This is our weekly touch up with the community, you, the members and followers of the Service Design Network. My name is Felipe, and as always, I am your ambassador and host. And today I'm excited to actually feature my fellow ambassadors from the events team, which are going to be joining me today just to talk about what is it like to be an ambassador for SDN, what it involves, and what their team are up to. And before we dive in, a quick reminder to interact with us or send any questions in the chat. We will address them by the end of this episode on the final Q&A segment. And also interact with us, just saying which part of the world you're tuning in. And now let's just bring the events team and start talking. Welcome everyone. How are you
Hello,
guys
world.
doing?
Hey, hello everyone.
Pretty good, pretty good. I'm in the Netherlands, and we're finally getting over this heat wave that we have been facing. So enjoying that, enjoying that.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm here in India, and we're rightly in between a stormy season, so there's so many power cuts in and out. So just in case I get off, I'll let you know beforehand that we might have had a unscheduled power cut.
Yeah. What about you, Palak?
So I'm actually a student. I graduate next month. I'm doing my master's in industrial design, and I kind of joined SDN to meet new people and just learn more about service design.
Yeah. And what is the events team? What is why do we have a different team that's specifically called the events team?
I think because SDN does a lot of events, the conferences and other events. I think we as a team can help them promote and connect and let people know about different events that are coming up.
Okay.
Yeah. So as event teams, our focus is really to discuss and to create content around the different events, particularly the conference. So the young talent, for example, was one gathering that we had earlier this year, and in October we'll have the global conference. So our assignment is really to focus on promoting those events, creating content that it's not just like very nice and nice to know, but really things that speak to the audience, to the potential people that want to go. So, for example, something that I just did recently, I just did a series of interviews with former speakers and future speakers, because my goal with this content was really to illustrate the value of coming to the conference. Not saying you have to be there in person, because I fully understand that it's not possible for a lot of people, but also what you get when you go online. So beyond just listening to the talks, we in my series we talk about community value, how you can meet other people. It's an opportunity to be in the space, to hear, to ask questions, and yeah, that's what we do in the events and just highlight the value of the events.
Yeah. And I think that part you're talking, right, the digital and physical part is quite an interesting thing of our kind of post-pandemic era, because
Mm-hmm.
I believe a lot of events were only physical and you couldn't really be there. And besides money constraints, but as well travel constraints and all of those things, it was quite hard to maybe meet new people and everything like that. So it's always great to have that possibility and be able to enjoy that a little bit digitally also.
Yes, yes, totally. And it's like to give you an example, something that physical events really didn't made it possible for people with accessibility challenges. So, for example, somebody who's immunocompromised, who has a chronic condition, for them being in a massive room with a lot of people, even before the pandemic, this was even the challenge before the pandemic. If you're immunocompromised, and you can be immunocompromised for many reasons, being in a massive room with a lot of people, it's not safe. It's just not safe. It's not possible. And before the pandemic, online events were not the standard. Now they are the standard. For thank God, like for most places, they're the standard. So it opens the door to a lot more people to go. I think when I think about accessibility, a lot of people think like, oh, there's a wheelchair ramp. It's it's not just about that. It's about whether things will be safe. It's about safety constraints. So, or then on the other side of that, people, if we're not talking about disabilities, our upcoming event in Helsinki is in the beginning of October and it's 3 days. For example, a lot of people have to look for childcare. It's like, do I have somebody to take care of my child, or pet care, or like, do you know how expensive a dog hotel is? Dog hotels are damn expensive. Like, you can leave a cat alone for 3 days, but you can leave a dog alone for 3 days. So dog hotels are very expensive, and be like, okay, so I cannot do this amazing opportunity because I don't have the 250 euros needed for my dog to stay in a decent hotel.
Yeah. Plus your own hotel that you probably have.
Yeah.
Also, your own hotel. Yeah. So add it on to the cost. And also,
Yeah.
depending on the dog hotel, you also have to pay for the food. I'm just shocked. I'm shocked by this industry, and I'm thinking of opening a dog hotel myself because apparently there is a lot of really good income there.
That's interesting to know. I think I had a very different introduction to SDN. So one of my professors, like I was studying at Parsons, this was 5 years ago. She had started like the SDN New York chapter along with a few people, and I would always we heard a lot of stories about her going to the Service Design Global Conference and giving speeches there. And it was always like, hey, we're missing it. Can't we be a part of it as well? So that's, I think, what really got me into, hey, I would love to be a part of this and really interact with this global community that we have and that we don't really have access to when we're being in a single place. You could probably mingle with other students, other professors, but that's it, right? Like, how do you move out of there and form these broader collaborations that usually happen? A lot of the projects also, I think SDN has these number of projects that we look at that come out of these events, which are really amazing to see because it's like so many interdisciplinary people just come together and create this huge impact. So yeah, that was my, I guess, point in, and I'm super excited to be here with our team. I also had like a really amazing interview with Louis Alt. He's the
Yeah.
judge for SDN Awards, and I got to know a lot of insider secrets, which was crazy. I think that's another thing that's there if you ever want to check that out, like how people judge, what are the criterias, and stuff like that. So it's a combination of just meeting this amazing global community as well as engaging with this work that enriches your own and you can kind of build on each other's.
I think Shauna has a good
100%.
point right there. Being a volunteer gives you like an opportunity, almost like an excuse to talk to people.
I know, right?
You can ask them all the questions that you always wanted to know. It's like, hey, so I'm reaching out. I'm an ambassador. It's not like for my personal benefit or my personal curiosity. I'm
Yeah.
an ambassador, and I want to like have an interview with you. And like, funny enough, most people like talking about themselves, so they can share with you all types of things. Like, from my series, I interviewed somebody from the speaker team, and I learned like what the process is to choose a speaker, and it's all those things that are behind the curtain, that like on the not on the front end but on the back end of everything, and you're like, oh, this is how it works. A lot of access.
Yeah. I think really knowing this insider secrets, I think you're saying, right, is just a lot of people really want to have conversations and talk about it. And I really love that about the service design community that we have here, that is just very open. And I feel from my side also with the community voices here, the other day we had um, Frank, he's the CEO, and he was just like, yeah, let's go, let's talk about inclusivity and how we can do that, and something that it feels so far-fetched, at least for me, just starting to my career to get to contact that so directly with people that are so high above, and hopefully it's something that is nice also for the people that are watching us and maybe are students also and are trying to find this place in the service design community.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think,
no,
and in
it's
this, No,
Yeah,
sorry.
you go ahead, Palak. No, you go ahead.
No, I was saying, in this, I think a lot of people get interested as well. I mean, are more interested in talking than you personally reach out to them for your personal gain.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
And it's
Because
also, go ahead.
I was gonna say that I totally agree, and I think it's a two-sided thing. So one thing I am really like, this is gonna dive into a whole different topic, but maybe you can like say it and then like put in a box. I think there's a lot of like bad publicity around when it comes to volunteering for things. From like, I come from a visual design background, so doing work for free, it's really like poorly seen. It's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
do this logo and I'll give you exposure and you'll get like, oh, your work will be seen and whatever. And you're like, I don't pay my bills with exposure. But the thing that's different about being a volunteer in SDN is that you get access to a really big community, and you get access to a lot of people, and you get access to a lot of resources as well. So
Yeah.
I would encourage people to like get involved. If nothing else, it I'm not gonna promise. I'm not gonna put out and say like, oh yeah, you're gonna get a job out of this, but you'll get access to a lot of knowledge, a lot of people, to a wonderful team, and to, yeah, just if nothing else, an excuse to talk to other people.
Definitely. And also, I think just an add to that is when our speakers just come and share about their knowledge, it is so much like it's so rich with content. Like you wouldn't have thought that, hey, let me listen to someone who is maybe in operations or supply chain, what do they have to say, and that would suddenly apply to, great, I can apply this in healthcare service design if
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing that. And you can see that transference of knowledge so clearly. It's just amazing to be able to do that. And the second thing is, just in terms of internally, when we're starting to like take all this different make all these different connections, start to build your own practice on it, you'll start to see how your personal brand also grows, like just in terms of like say digital marketing, the skills that you just develop by exploring and expanding your territories within the different things that are thrown at you, because there's no one here, it's so self-structured, you can just take up different things on your own. So if you stack them correctly, you're gonna develop a completely second and third skill set that are already complementing your, say, if you're service design expert. So that becomes really, really rich.
And maybe to that, sometimes we restrict our vision to something like maybe we think about service design as somebody might be working in medical, so they might think of service design as a very focused way in that field. But when we get connected through SDN or like ambassador, we get to hear different stories. So I think it expands our horizon as well.
Is there a personal story anyone has that is like, okay, I did not expect to use this in this other project ever?
I mean, like for me, it would be like, so I've been on SDN like a volunteer twice. The first time that I did it was for the team like making the actual like conference, and I was volunteering there as a graphic designer. And then this time like volunteer as an ambassador, just wanted to try like the different aspects of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I I don't think like through SDN, but like before I joined again, before this like last year, I was volunteering at for TEDx Amsterdam, and I was the lead of their impact program. And that is just like you said, Shauna. So it allows you to try things out. Like the reason that I wanted to be a volunteer for TEDx Amsterdam is because I wanted to to test out, prove, and learn and expand my leadership skills.
Hmm.
And suddenly I was like a project lead, and I was like, okay, now I have to worry about all these things and put all these pieces together. And that really helped me later when I was applying for a project, because I was like, yeah, I have this experience. I know how to manage a budget. I know how to make projections. I know how to do risk management. I know how to do risk analysis. It just really helps you out. And it's like a playground for you to try different things. And again, like you said, it's very free structured, so we get to decide how we're going to work, and that's also a double-edged sword. I'm not going to say that it's perfect. That's also a double-edged sword, but you're going to get as much out of it as you put into it. I think that's really the thing when it comes to like joining a project like this. Like you're gonna get out of it as much as you put in. If you don't put anything in, you're not gonna get anything out. And it's also a good opportunity to like expand your brand. Like if you want to like for example, recommend somebody that says like, yeah, you know what, I want to build a stronger presence on LinkedIn and I don't know how. I would say join SDN because it's gonna be a part of your task and it's gonna give you a reason to talk to people, get less like be like challenge your fear. If you're afraid of sharing your own content, like challenge that. And also just have opportunity like be like a lobster.
Be
Like
like a lobster.
be like a lobster. No, it's like it does the thing. Like lobster are crustaceans and they like grow when they keep growing inside their shell and then they have to break their shell and like grow a new shell later. And that only happens when they're uncomfortable. So you have to first put yourself in the uncomfortable position if you want to grow. So
Yeah,
I would say this is a very safe space to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
true. I have another metaphor for that on a similar note, I guess. Like like just keep doing osmosis and keep absorbing from all the different people that you see. That way, like you'll be able to really place yourself like if even if I guess initially a lot of students what they do just as they graduate they're like, hey, what do I do? There's so many fields, I don't know what really suits me. If you come in a space like this, you get to talk to so many people. So it can be service design, UX design, visual design, brand design. Like you just have these hosts of people that you talk to. And then you're like, okay, I see what are the pros and cons. I see where the industry is moving. You get a sense of how the global industry is moving. And that makes it so much more, so much more valuable because now you're like, I have two tentacles. Now I can detect what is going on and I'm going to upskill myself in this direction that really resonates with maybe the economy at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I second that. I totally agree. And it's like the chance because we only learn like from our personal experiences and from the experiences of others. But if we limit ourselves to our own little bubbles, like for example, if I was talking to somebody and they were just like as I'm Latin American, so if I was talking to people like say like I had I had a podcast for a couple of years and I remember I had a 2 episode talking to a friend of mine called Chris Luck. Shout out to Chris, he's awesome. And we were talking about the difference between design in Latin America compared to design in Europe and how behind Latin America is when it comes to design and in multiple different aspects. Service design is one of them. And it allows being in a program like this or being in a group like this allows you to understand the global market and see how things are, not just assuming that the grass is greener on the other side, but it's like to reflect and to develop that critical eye. Be like, okay, this worked somewhere else. Why did this work? And you get to talk to the person that worked in that project and be like, so what hiccups did you have? I personally always find more interesting the f up blipping things out
Yeah.
because of like PG, like public access stuff. Um, I always find that way more interesting than the success stories. Like I want to learn what were your challenges, where did you stumble, how did you maneuver through those challenges? Because I think that's when the real lessons are in understanding how you defeated that challenge, or hey, how that challenge move everything around. It can also happen.
Yeah.
I mean, even in movies, we like the ones which have twists and turns and then they succeed somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Almost
Like
like a
this was
hero
many.
story that,
Yeah,
hey, we have a
exactly.
hero, we have a challenge, we're like, we overcame the challenge, and now we have a final success story.
Like and you know what? It's even I personally really like if we're gonna like take this diversion, I like movies in which like I like stories in which even the villain is kind of understandable. It's like
Mm.
there is you're like for example in the movie Kingsman, the first one, like the bad guy was Samuel L. Jackson, and you're like he kind of has a point though. Like
Like,
he
you
kind
start
of
relating to the villains more.
exactly. It's like he kind of has a point. I mean, it's horrible what he wants to do, but he kind of has a point. It doesn't apply on anything. Like a lot of things are like clearly black and white. It's like good and the wrong side. But what I'm saying is that when you expose yourself to a bigger group of people, you get to learn from other perspectives. And particularly when you want to work in service design, you need to have that openness to understanding several stakeholders. It's be
Yeah.
like, okay, what does the business want? What does the employee want? What does the user want? Who is around the user? And
Mm-hmm.
given that, and that's something you develop by working with other people. And if like Sean said, or like in Paula's situation, when you're a student, it's a great place to like get that other experience before you step into the workplace and be like, okay, what do I actually want to do? Like, what problem do I find
Yeah.
interesting? And what's my next step? It's a great place to figure out your next step.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I know I mentioned student. There was a couple, not to be saying that all SDN members are student. People are there in like in all ranges, right from say mid-career to even executive level people who get involved for various reasons, of course, in terms of collaboration. I myself, like, I already have like 5 years of experience, and I was like, hey, what's the next step for me as I was like trying to explore more opportunities and like foresight strategy and systems thinking. I was like, let me come back and connect with my roots and connect with my people and see where the global industry is moving. And I think it does help at a lot of different stages as well. It doesn't have to be just when you graduate or when you're interning. That doesn't have to be necessarily when you want to join. I know, Pollock, you started, you know, you were there with SDN even last year. Do you see a difference between the cohort of last year and this year?
Yes, I think this year it's more, people are exploring a little more. I think we never really did a lot of these online events like we're doing right now. Last year was more like a conventional promoting. I think this year we are experimenting with a lot of new things and like interviewing more people and all of that. So I think this year we have become more advanced in comparison to last year. I mean, you grow every year.
So I guess learnings
Yeah.
always help us be better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I
Are
mean,
they?
talking about connecting and events and things like that, I'd like to tell everyone that's watching also that you can try to choose. We have, sorry, wrong one. The tickets for the Service Design Global Conference in Helsinki to save your place today, either online or presential, as we were saying,
Yeah.
just putting yourself out there just to connect with people, knowing different people, and kind of hearing more about service design and what other people are doing. Because as we were talking here, there's so many different stories and experiences to learn from, also, right? And
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
with that, also, I start moving to the Q&A. So if anybody has any questions to our fellow ambassadors here about their work or anything that they have been doing, please drop in the comments. And in the meanwhile, I'll just ask you to talk, because Andrea here, Andrea Jones, she just said, I'm very interested in getting involved. How was it for you guys to start getting involved as an ambassador, or even before, if you had other interactions with SDN?
So for me, the first interaction that I had with SDN, so I, like most people who work in service design, it's like self-taught. It's, I think most of us come from different, like now you can study service design, but if you got into it like 5 years ago, then there wasn't like a degree that you could get on service design. So my background is on visual design. Like I was, I'm formally trained as a graphic designer. And then after that, I was like, I really like always had the feeling that I wanted to do more with design. It's like there has to be more than just making a pretty logo or a pretty infographic. Nothing against that. They're great, but there has to be more somewhere somehow. And then I like how I found out, this is really funny. This is actually really, really funny. I was doing an internship as part of my degree for a nonprofit in Austria, and this was during the pandemic. And my main goal was to create a presence on Clubhouse. So if you were like, it was a thing during the pandemic. So I started joining all these groups. One of them was with Chris Doe. I was I got the pleasure of asking him a question in one of his like clubhouse thingies. And I was like, I want to do more design. And he's like, read this book. This is urban design doing. And I read the book. And Marion Maher is in the book. And it was like, yeah, like her little bio, like founder of SDN, like Service Design Network. And I was like, oh, join Service Design Network. And then I was like, okay, I want to do more. They're looking for volunteers. I'll start volunteering. And then it just like kept going from there. So it just really like a stroke of luck that I found service design really. Fell in love with it, and then I wanted to contribute more. And this is really me wanting to be in it because I want to contribute to the community. But yeah, that's how I found service design, and that's how I found SDN as well, by pure stroke of luck. Thank you,
That's,
Cristo.
that's amazing. I had a very unconventional journey actually. I started in computer science, which is what you do in India. When you start out, you're either an engineer or doctor. It's still true, if anyone thinks it's a bias. But yeah, I started off in computer science. Then I was experimenting with a couple of different subjects, like I wanted to go into management and things like that. And there was this really amazing innovation consulting company that came in. They were like, hey, let us do workshops for you. And that was the first workshop. Like, I kid you not, in 7 days, I was like, okay, I'm going to change the whole trajectory of my life now. Because I absolutely love the concept of service design. And it was like, hey, I have a creative brain, I have an analytical brain, and I know it can come together on this one stage. That was the first ever time I felt that. And then I dropped out of business school, moved all the way to US, and got into a service design program. So that was like a lot of shifts. So I would say it was quite unconventional for me, and never questioned that decision ever since.
I mean, you took a risk
Yeah.
I know,
and it paid off.
it did.
For me, I did my bachelor's also in industrial design, but I was introduced to service design in my master's at Georgia Tech. So they have like a service design course, and from there I got introduced, and then I attended a service design jam. I got more interested, and then I joined the SDN community. So I would say mine was a more conventional, maybe more conventional route than all of you.
Yeah. But I mean, the process itself to volunteer is quite easy, right? Most of the times, I think it's just a form with some information. Why would you like to volunteer? And if you had volunteered before at the SDN or not, and things like that. So I think it's just about keeping your eyes peeled if you are interested right now already to be an ambassador volunteer in the conferences or online. Just to have a look whenever SDN is going to be releasing new opportunities, right?
Yeah, I think the most easiest way to actually go about it is just follow the LinkedIn SDN page, and they'll post on
Mm.
that. Hey, we need volunteers? It's actually, the post is actually still up if anyone wants to join. So just go on the LinkedIn page, search for the post, put in, like, click on the link. You'll have the form, add in all your details, and voila, you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not
I mean,
all your details, but
Yeah, don't share your credit card number.
There it
That you
is.
shouldn't share that.
that's not needed.
That's what we did.
But yeah, but
If,
with
if
that,
they ask if they ask for it and you're not like buying a course or membership, it's not SDN, it's a bot trying to steal your information. So don't follow that. Just
that is
just
not
like
a.
a small warning.
And we
yeah.
went to Terminator, but okay. but with that, I'll just end today's episode. I thank you very much, all of you, for joining and sharing a little bit of your stories and generally what the Ambassadors Events Team is being up to. And hope to talk more with you soon.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for having us. Take care,
Thank you,
everyone. Have a
everyone.
good day.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
And with that, we get to the end of another SDN Community Voices. It was absolutely great to have my fellow ambassadors, the events team, here with me. And a big thank you to you, the community that joined and engaged with us live here. Stay connected with us in our social medias for updates on any future SDN Community Voices episodes, and hope to see you all next Thursday.